Hello, my name is Gerald Wells. I am Chief Investigator of Wells Research Laboratory, which is a science and history think tank. We analyze anomalies in history and science and make an attempt to understand them in the more modern context of the most current views in science.
Mr. Wells, now you are here at this conference. What is your passion, what is your interest in being here?
My interest is in disseminating a new understanding of the Platonic myth regarding Atlantis. I have developed a new hypothesis. This hypothesis argues that Atlantis did not sink. It actually rose in a process in geology called epyrogenesis, which is, in short, a rather large tilting or uplift of the continental landmass.
And where in the world did this uplifting take place?
I believe that the uplift occurred across the African plate itself and actually tilted toward the east while uplifting the western extreme, which would be the Atlas mountain range. And as a result, the wet areas over the western aspects of the Sahara would have drained into the Mediterranean basin. And this is what caused the descriptions in the Platonic dialogues of a sea that was impassable and impenetrable because of a shoal of mud in the way. When a body of land lifts up that has water on it, the water can drain away, and then that would expose the seafloor. And so the early mariners that returned to visit the site would have been faced with an optical illusion. They would have been trying to understand why was there mud in their way for their normal sailing route, and they would actually have been reasoning then apparently that the island, in the effect of the massive earthquakes, would have been shaken and pulverized into pieces and then settled into the sea.
All right, all right. Here I need to know, was it uplifted once, then became depressed and now uplifted again, or how is this to be understood?
It would be understood in the context of Plato's work as being generally an initial uplift that would have been sufficient to drain away the marshes and lakes, which I've referred to as the Saharan Atlantic Sea, that cover the western aspects of the Sahara. Subsequent uplifts could have occurred, which would have then been over the interim period between the time frame that Plato argued, which was at the end of the Pleistocene Ice Age.
I see. Do you have any scientific evidence for this uplifting?
There is actually quite a bit of geologic anomalies that would help to justify and support the concept of an epyrogenic movement of the African plate. There are uplifts and tears at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is in the middle of the Atlantic, and then there are also depression sublift areas in the Zagros Mountains area that would be described in craton reactivation areas and unusual gravitational readings in that area.
Okay, now you're talking about the Mid-Atlantic. There are some tectonic plates out there beyond the Pillars of Hercules, as Plato describes the location of Atlantis. So we have the American, the African, and the European tectonic plates. How is your attitude to the theory of Atlantis out there at that spot?
I think that the references that Plato has made to being near or beyond the Pillars of Heracles are consistent with the location that we have in Northwest Africa, providing that you allow for the western aspects of the Sahara to be wet. Because then mariners still sailing toward the more modern Pillars of Heracles would still be working their way toward the west, and the definition then of the Atlantic Sea, or the Atlantic Ocean some have called it, would be actually referring to the body of water that was covering the Saharan region at the time.
Okay, so way back in time, maybe several million years or tens of million years, there was water in the Sahara. Is that right?
That's true, yes, yeah, that's true.
That's true.
This is much more recent than that we're referring to with Plato, of course. Yeah. Plato's dating puts this catastrophe at the end of the Younger Dryas, which is the last glacial period of the Pleistocene Ice Age, 11,550 years ago, right, plus or minus.
If you present your hypothesis, your theory, your way of thinking to scientific colleagues, How do they react to statements like this if you present them to it?
When I presented this information this morning, they were receptive to the degree that they would actually then pose questions of me, challenging me to be able to express to them my points of view. The scientific evidence that we have offered up in support of our hypothesis requires a little more in-depth review rather than just in a few minutes' time hearing it for the first time. So I'll give them a little time to think about it to see how they react to it. But I think it's been received rather well, considering it's a very unusual and very new hypothesis.
I have heard that scientists or researchers that are interested in the hypothesis of Atlantis, suddenly, by some strange reason, their career is stopped. They don't get the jobs they apply for and things like that. Do you know about this?
Yes, I'm aware of that, but there's a new field now in geology that's been sanctioned in just the last few years. The first conference was held in 2004. This is called geomythology. This is a new field that has been now makes it reasonable for geologists to look at myth to try to understand what potential catastrophes occurred in prehistoric times that would have then found its way into myth. And this justifies then in the mind of many of those who would not rather put their reputation on the line to be able to go ahead and look at the myth and try to be able to analyze it from the scientific perspective to come to some conclusion as to what catastrophes may have actually affected the Earth.
Okay. What is your hope for the future of your job, your research, your theory?
My hope would be that a university will accept the research and take principal oversight so that we can actually go to the site and begin surveying. Part of the investigation discovered a triple meteorite impact site in the western edge of the Sahara Desert on the Saharan Atlas steppe. These appear to be 3 meteorite impact craters all aligned up together, and these craters have all the potential to match the complicated geometry that Plato has described. The satellite remote sensing analysis of the area directly around these craters have revealed what appear to be temples and canal structures, so this is a site that is a very compelling site, but the Algerian protocols seem to require that an independent researcher such as myself is not allowed to enter into the country without having a university backing, because they would require university-to-university interaction for this type of a scientific investigation.
Okay. I hope you will get financed. How does your theory fit to the statement that Plato made that the kings of Atlantis was pure of heart? They had grandeur, they had a gentle way of thinking, but then something happened, they degenerated. But the pureness, the gentleness, the good ethics that he characterized as being Atlantis, can you fit that into your theory?
My focus is primarily on geologic sciences, and so getting into the mind of the individuals who actually live there would be a little bit premature.
Okay.
But without beginning to dig and without beginning to find some evidences in the area that would help substantiate the type of culture that was there by looking at the ruins, it'll be difficult to make a leap like that without actually knowing a little bit more about the actual physical evidence that we would have. It would be a bit of speculation.
Yes. Okay, finally, last question. What is your hope for the future, for the Atlantis question?
Well, I think that the Atlantis question, for my hope for the Atlantis question would be that people begin to respect it and begin to realize that the Earth has been subjected to rather significant catastrophic events in the most recent past, which have contributed to the termination of the glacial periods. There's much evidence now to suggest that there was either a cometary or meteorite type of impact that caused the end of the ice ages, and as soon as we can come to a little bit better conclusion as to what this might have been, then we can realize that a lot of the myth that is out there is based in fact. It's just it's been diluted over the time because of the vast amounts of time that there is. And now we need to really start looking at this, taking it seriously, and start realizing that humanity has been exposed to some very significant events that has caused our population to suffer greatly, and this is a very wise thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.